Good evening. Tens of thousands of people, from heads of states to faith leaders, Christians, Catholics, non-Catholics and atheists, are at the Vatican for tonight's funeral of Pope Francis. The leader of more than 1.2 billion people worldwide died on Monday, setting in motion centuries-old traditions, rites and rituals, and triggering days of mourning. It's mostly been centred on the Vatican, which is where our chief international correspondent, Ben Lewis, joins us from. Ben, what's it like where you are?
Well, Ricardo, good evening. There are an estimated 200,000 people in St Peter's Square and on the promenade that leads up to it, yet at times during this funeral mass you could hear a pin drop. The Vatican said Francis himself wanted this funeral to be the funeral for a shepherd, not a sovereign, meaning he wanted to be a funeral of a man who saw himself as a pope for the people, not some sort of deity or a king. And we've seen that reflected in many of the choices that have been made. The Pope's coffin is a simple one made of wood, and it is not on a raised platform known as a catafalque, but low to the ground, down among the people. Of course, there is only so humble a Pope's funeral can be, given his position and given this breathtaking location where it is occurring. It is mostly a very traditional Catholic funeral mass, sung and spoken in Latin, and it is being conducted by Italian Cardinal Giovanni Re. He is 91 years old and considered a senior figure within the church. It's going to last for around 2 hours and then end with the Pope's body being taken from here at the Vatican to his burial place, which is in central Rome. Yet again, another different choice for a Pope who considered himself to be a little different to his predecessors.
Ben, this will be one of the largest gatherings of global heads of state and government, but Vatican officials have made it clear this is not a political event. But will that be the case?
Look, they have said that to leaders, that this is very much about paying respects to the Pope, of course, but there will be some politics on the sidelines, and we have seen that already. We are told that Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky have already spoken briefly before coming into St Peter's Square. It will be their first in-person meeting since that disastrous encounter at the White House a few weeks ago. It's really interesting to see where the leaders are actually seated. It's not the way it normally occurs at sort of global summit type occasions. In the very front row is the President of Argentina, of course, Francis's country of birth, which is interesting in itself because President Milei had very critical things to say about the Pope over many years, although he did temper his comments since taking office. Then it's the Italian delegation with the Italian President and Prime Minister. From then on, countries are arranged in alphabetical order according to the French alphabet, and so Donald Trump is sitting a little bit further back. There could be some interesting encounters. There are representatives from both Israel and Iran here, for example, Taiwan and China. And occasionally at papal funerals there are some less so pleasant encounters for some of the leaders. You may remember at the funeral of John Paul II, then Prince Charles was spotted shaking hands with Zimbabwean leader Robert Mugabe. He later apologised for that, but it does often put leaders who would not normally talk to each other in very close quarters.
Ben, and with so many heads of state present, talk us through what we know about the security operation.
Yeah, it is an absolutely enormous security operation. We are told that there are 2,000 local police here, in addition to national police and other security forces. You see it when you're coming into the Vatican area this morning. There were 2 separate checkpoints where bags were thoroughly checked. We've also seen army officers with these enormous electronic weapons, which apparently are used to down hostile drones. This is, of course, something the Italian government and the Vatican has been preparing for some time. There have been plans in place. It is quite remarkable, though, to see it all in action, and so far we're not aware of any security incidents.
A lot of attention turns to the cardinals when a pope dies. They'll be playing a key role in tonight's service and then in the election of a new pope. One of them is Australian Mikola Bichok. What's he been saying?
Yeah, he is quite a character, Cardinal Bichok. He only arrived in Rome yesterday, and he is the youngest cardinal elector. He was only made a cardinal in December of last year by Pope Francis, and he's sort of playing two roles. Yes, he is an Australian cardinal, but he was born and raised in Ukraine, and he is proudly representing both countries. We asked him if he's feeling a little nervous ahead of the conclave.
It is human that I'm nervous. If you are not nervous, you are not human. Each of us, in some period of time, has some feelings. But you see, on the one hand, I'm nervous, but on the other hand, I'm completely in peace and hope.
That's Cardinal Mykola Bichok speaking there. Ben, Pope Francis had a reputation of doing things differently, and that includes where he wants to be buried. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, most popes are buried inside the walls of the Vatican. He is going to be buried at the Basilica of St Mary Major, which is about a 5-kilometre drive from where we are now. It was a basilica that was very important to him. He often went there to pray before and after foreign trips. It is a place that he is said to have felt very comfortable, and it's going to be quite a simple, humble tomb compared to those of his predecessors, as cardinals explained to us yesterday.
The tomb is not big, a great piece of art, but very essential and very simple. We can see that will be only one inscription, Pope's name, Franciscus. After will be his cross, and after the marble is a stone from Liguria, which is the land of his grandparents.
That's Cardinal Makrikas there from the Basilica of St Mary Major. So Ben, what happens after today?
Well, Ricardo, tomorrow there will be more prayers said for Pope Francis here in St Peter's Square. Almost all of the voting cardinals for the conclave are now in Rome, and they will be heading to the Basilica of St Mary Major, where they will be paying their respects at his tomb. Then, of course, the conclave will be occurring soon. It is expected to start somewhere after May the 6th, and once this is over, once the tributes have been paid, once the respect has been shown, the internal church politics will begin, and cardinals will begin the process of selecting the next pope. Ricardo?
OK, thank you, Ben. That is our chief international correspondent, Ben Lewis, reporting on the funeral of Pope Francis from the Vatican.